Oh no, we're live.
Live? Live now?
We're going. It's happening.
Live now?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Welcome to the Read Optional Hangout. Oliver Connolly, thereadoptional.com, alongside producer Harry.
Hello.
People have heard of producer Harry before and never seen him. People may have never seen me at this point. I think I've done one video thing from UK End Zone all the way through. I can't think of another video thing I've ever done, really.
That's
You
not
ever seen any video?
I've not. You're a bit of a myth. You're the man behind.
I have one profile picture that I use for everything because I like to remain anonymous. I like to remain anonymous.
Typing away, talking away. We don't know.
We don't know. So we're going to take questions if anyone turns up. People probably won't turn up and watch it afterwards. So therefore, I'm going to make you ask me questions because I'm a narcissist. Okay. I don't want to ask any. I don't have any questions to ask you. So we'll talk a bit about the site, possibly, if people are interested. I want to talk about Gronk. I want to talk about Jamel Hill, ESPN commentator, and other female commentators. And then that's about it. And we're going to probably do this once a week. Probably find a set date to make it easier. I'm thinking Wednesdays, but Fridays is a cool vibe. Harry's drinking because he's an unprofessional.
I'm not drinking.
And I have water because I'm a professional.
Well, some of us, we let loose.
We do. So, new site, new launch, thereadoptional.com, January the 26th. What is significant about January the 26th, Harry?
Not much.
Dual significance, my birthday, the launch of my new site. I'm very excited. Today was the day when I got really excited because the first couple of days, no word of a lie, crashed the email account to begin with. We set up the email address and all that stuff. There's like a limit on how much email you can take, apparently. Nonsense.
It's madness.
And then, so we send out asking for applications and it crashes in terms of applications. So we get rid of all the crap applications. That was easy enough.
And we have a question, Ollie.
Already?
Yep. It's from Jen Ryan. Hello.
Oh, hello, Jen Ryan.
Are you old enough to drink that beer in America, lol? Just kidding, guys. Looking forward to hearing this. Well, first of all, no, I'm not old enough.
Aren't you?
God bless England. No, to drink in America.
I was going to say. I can broadcast that to the world.
I'm under 21 years of age, so God bless Britain.
That is funny. You're not. And yet such a heavy reliance on you for a new website.
Well, age is just a number, Ollie.
It's almost like I put like 10% of my career in your hands and you're not even old enough to drink. It's kind of worrying.
In America. Let's get that clear.
It's an American site.
Ish.
Ish.
No, Ish. Thank you for the question. That's completely threw you off. I'm sorry, but I saw it and got it.
You did. What's it talking about?
The site. I think.
Yes, we had a bunch of applications. They crashed the email account. I removed the applications that were initially unsuccessful. Resent out stuff. Again, crashed the email account, which is irritating. Now we're working through them. There's some of the people who apply are firstly, there's some insane people. They're crazy. And then there's some people who are just unbelievable. And it's just like, I'm so excited for this. And to try and do something different and have new perspectives and original stuff and take some of that UK End Zone stuff, like bigger picture with actual weight behind it and a new studio and doing video stuff and making Harry do all the stuff because I can't do any of it. I'm just excited.
It's going to be great. And it's just a chance to really build something that we want from the ground up. There's no bullshit. And we're going to have a great time.
We do. Although I have to do balance sheets, which I hate, and which I've already had to do. And I have to make sure I keep receipts, which I don't enjoy. And we have to do financing. But with that comes a budget to do stuff for once. Videos, live stuff. If I can be bothered to go to the international series, we can do some stuff. Can never be bothered. And I also
really want to set up a combine thing at the international series. Get a load of numbers up from pros in the past and see if anyone can,
First of all, I would kill them. I would destroy the 40. I have a great broad jump. Most people think they're good at the broad jump, but they can't land it, and you have to land it to be an official length.
Is that something you go up to people and go, "Hey, I'm pretty good at the broad jump," and they're like, "Fuck."
You show off my broad jumpness sometimes. So, really, I'm trying to think of what information people would want. Give me information people would want that they'd be interested in with the new site.
Okay. Podcasts. What's going on? We got any new ones?
We have new ones. They are as yet undecided. The ones that are decided, that two things that I'm excited for. First of all, Ed Overend, who people will know, he did some writing for UK Endzone. He worked with me at Call to the Bullpen, the Major League Baseball site. I just love his outlook on life and his mind. He's always in the pub whenever I call him, but not drinking, surprisingly. It's just I like him a lot, and he has a really deep way of looking at sports, which just like removes the what happened on 3rd and 3, which is where I like to live in this world, and figuring out why something worked on 3rd and 3. He doesn't even care about the 3rd and 3. He cares about the coach. How did the coach get there? Did the coach get there in the correct way? All that kind of stuff. He prefers that big picture stuff. So I'm excited for him to do a show. And I'm going to start out with him initially to get it off the ground. Then I'm just going to kind of let him free and go and do it. And the other thing that I'm looking forward to is the one feed, which we did at Call to the Bullpen and worked so well, where we just put all the shows. They all have their own separate feed for people to subscribe to, or they can just get the one feed. And you kind of treat it like a radio station, where I know more and Connolly football shows coming Tuesday and Thursday. I know this show comes Wednesday, this show comes Friday, and people can just pick and choose kind of which ones they want to download, delete some of them. Grantland did that type of way with the Grantland Sports feed. And for people who, there's listeners out there who like all the shows, they just get it all in one space without having to have 4 or 5 feeds subscribed to, take up space on their phone. They just get it in one. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, it just makes things really super easy. Well, basically, we try to make this the easiest transition possible. So the Twitter feed, people have to do nothing. Podcast feed, mostly people don't have to do anything. It's all just going to tick over. People are going to wake up and be like, oh, what's this new shiny website? So we're trying to make it seem like easy as possible. Hopefully people enjoy it. And it's good to see some buzz around the website, because we decided to announce it like a week beforehand, and it's really exciting to see people commenting. And if you're here, you're listening, just pop us some questions. Come on, let's hear them.
Also intimidating. Some of the people who sent me messages to like congratulate me and what have you is mind blowing. And it's just like, now I'm concerned. People are excited, and I just hope that it all goes so well. I mean, we've worked hard on it. The podcast stuff is the stuff I'm most interested in, I think. I still feel like video is being majorly underutilized by people. They kind of use it as a companion tool, or they're trying really hard to make something go viral. Not that's bad. Like Barstool does stuff where the whole intent is to make the thing go viral, and it's funny because they're funny people. But I still think just doing other stuff is underutilized. People just either use it as a companion of, you could just rip the audio and you wouldn't really need the video, or they're really trying hard to make stuff go viral, I feel like.
Yeah, well, we live in the world of YouTube now, basically.
Viral.
And we're definitely trying to utilize it now on this site. There's, as we said, there's nothing really on UK Endzone video-wise. We're just going to bang out loads of videos, and basically no excuse for a user to go on the site. We'll have loads of articles, loads of podcasts, loads of videos. It's going to be a fully professional site, which is going to be great.
Well, I hope. The pods, I'm trying to think of the other pods. We announced podcasts that we haven't yet filled, so we'll be having a college football podcast. We'll probably have a fantasy football podcast, but we're still working on what we're going to do with them exactly and who's going to host them. But that's all going to be sorted during the off season. Probably that's not going to launch. I mean, it'd be unnecessary to force them and launch them now. Those will come during the off season. We got any questions or anything? You got any more questions?
We are questionless at the moment.
All right, people will watch this back. I know if you do this more consistently, people will join in. I hope.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about Gronk.
Okay. Let's talk about Gronk.
So Jimmy Johnson vaunted. First of all, I always find it interesting with coaches who do like radio spots, and they'll do like a 10-minute segment, and they call in, and Jimmy Johnson's usually fishing, or on his way to fishing, or he's just been fishing, and they have this like weird thing where they know so much more than everyone else. They just do, and yet they try and talk like everyone else, and I don't understand that. Jimmy Johnson did the Dan Lebitard show, and they're asking him about defending Gronk. And Jimmy Johnson's too smart a guy to just say, like, you double team him, and then that's like his answer. It's like laziness. We could say that right now.
Yeah.
And our level of the knowledge of the X and O and stuff is above that of just people listening to the Lebitard show. And we can ourselves break it down now. He's got to be coming with stuff. And it actually irritates me that these coaches, they do these radio spots and they talk like a common man because they've been brainwashed by Fox Sports and by other companies to do 30-second A block, B block, just speak bullshit. And they bring it to a radio show. Like, so Jimmy Johnson goes on a 5-minute talk about double teaming Gronkowski. It's like, of course, but at no point mentions that now you've got Edelman one-on-one. Now you've got these other players one-on-one. And it drives me insane. This is Jimmy Johnson. This guy is winning in Miami. This guy is winning the NFL. This guy controlled a program when it wasn't even in vogue at the time for the coach to run the entire program. Makes the greatest trade in the history of the league. Is considered a rah-rah guy, which diminishes the fact that he knows what he's doing from a schematic standpoint. And he goes on these shows and it's just like they're laughing at the fact that he's fishing and he doesn't give any information. Irritates me.
It's just the way sports media is now for some people. It's seen as a brand and it's just so toxic. There's so many clickbait pieces and it's just transformed in the last few years just into pay-per-views, basically.
Pay-per-views is the best. Yeah. I love the pay-per-view. It's hard to talk about without trashing people, particularly ex-employers. But I do genuinely, I don't even know how they get away. I was thinking about this the other day in terms of the minimum wage. Like, how do you get away with offering someone a deal that is, bring me 1,000 page views and we'll give you $1, is what a lot of these new sites run on. That's their thing. You come to us, they make it out like you're being employed. They'll offer you maybe media accreditation, something to spice it up. Bring us 1,000 page views, we give you $1. And you can game the page views if you want. Like, if you tweet something out once, you're going to get 10 clicks there. You tweet it out again, you're going to get another 5 clicks. So if you don't do the second one, you don't get those page clicks. You can game the page views. Or if I don't have the page views I want, or I'm a little bit short of getting like to the 3,000 mark or whatever the number is, just write a piece like almost slanderous about LeBron James. You tweet it out, you're going to get a bunch of page views. Yeah. I hate it so much. I hate new sports media.
Oh, we've got some questions, more questions coming in, Ollie. I'm going to hit you up. Florian Varga, welcome to the show. Says, what was the hardest aspect of making the website? And what advice would you give to people thinking of starting one up?
The hardest part of making the website, and I had this idea to do this. We had to get investment first and foremost, but I had the idea last year. Then I had to work to a point to begin the website. You want to do it properly. We already had a successful brand of its size anyway, and I was doing other work and stuff. So then you got to get the financing, and if you want to do it, scoping things out, not just your initial website, you have to try and find some money to do it properly and to do content. People only care about content. The look of the site is one thing. People only really care about. There's some shite websites. Have you seen philsteele.com? It's an abomination. It's like an Excel spreadsheet. And I still read it because it's Phil Steele. He does good content. But the toughest thing of building the site, something called a HTTP error, which I still have no idea what this is. And we'd be up to like 3-4 trying to figure this error out, some coding error. I'm no coder. You're not really a coder, but you do very well at trying it. And we only got it done in the last 48 hours, I think. We launched on Tuesday. I was so panicked about that. I was panicked about many other things with coding because I don't know what that is. So the coding stuff is challenging, but you can also get someone if you get the right financing. But getting the funds together, getting a team together to do it properly is the most challenging thing. If you do it on your own, you have a vision. I don't think it's that tough, really. So
yeah, what advice would you say? You got to say a couple things to Florian. What would you say?
Am I starting a new sports website like I just did the last 6 months, or just any site?
Just starting up a website. Let's just say it's a sports one, for example.
I think you need someone. I think you need someone to bounce ideas off, and someone who's almost as invested as you. Like, again, if you can do websites cheap if it's just a website for you and just to do it a little bit, but you have to find someone who is at least similarly passionate or had the same vision as you, because then you start bouncing stuff and that's when it begins to roll and it becomes really fun. Just doing it on your own, like I initially did UK End Zone just for my columns, and it wasn't very good. Then I found Dutton, and that was an experience. And then I found Josh Hunt for UK End Zone, and the whole thing took off because we had the same vision, and he could help enact it. And David the same thing, and it went to another level. So working with good people is the best thing, unless you want to do it individually, and then that's just passion, content, finding the right place to host the thing, all that kind of basic stuff.
Yeah, one thing I would say is you can still make a website without spending much. It may not be the same large project, but you can definitely, if you just research it, there's forums, YouTube is the king of this. Just find what you're looking for and you can start small and expand, like basically what happened here. It would be great.
You just start your own blog and roll it out from there, I'd say. Like if you're doing portfolio type stuff, photography stuff, that's all easily doable on blog sites, Blogger and WordPress and that.
Yeah, absolutely. We got one more question from Jen, which kind of throws back to our previous conversation. It says, how many TDs from Gronk in the conference championship? I like the big fella for 2.
Let's talk about trying to stop Gronk quickly.
Yeah.
This idea of double teaming him. We've mentioned before about if you double team Gronk, now Danny Amendola's one-on-one, now Julian Edelman's one-on-one. And I love Talib and Chris Harris, but in this day and age, if you can only bump and run inside 5, then it's not going to be able to stop them. They're superior in space athletes. When you double Gronk, are you a fan of the gunner coverage? Like, we haven't seen anyone in years now, 2 years maybe, just say, I'm going to treat him like this is the punt team, and I'm going to line up 2 linebackers over him, and we're just going to play gunner coverage. They try and they chip him, and they hit him at the line, or you'll use Von Miller, who will speed rush off the edge, and he'll hit Gronk on his way through. People do stuff like that, but very rarely do you see a team now just say, instead of double teaming with the linebacker safety or dropping the defensive end of the linebacker to cover him, no one just says, let's just put 2 guys over the top of him like we're playing on the punt team, or like if we were doubling Julio Jones or someone. I'd be interested if they did something like that, because they have the guys to play. If anyone can play one-on-one, they have Roby, Harris, Talib. They can probably, it's still tough because the other guys, but if anyone could do it, probably them. I'd be interested to see him try that, but no one really has the balls to do that, I don't think.
Well, one thing you've seen the Patriots do against Broncos last few years, they shove him out wide. Gronk, you've seen him playing as a wide receiver out wide on one-on-one like soft coverage, and he's just feasted. And like, do you see them doing that again?
Well, see, the thing is, I think that plays into your hands, because they do that to isolate him, because what that does is now they know he's being doubled. It's easier for the Patriots to double and isolate one side of the field and say, okay, we know now we got high safety and a secondary player covering him. That's the double team. You can see it pre-snap, and that's where Brady lives. And now I'm just going to work this side of the field, and I know this is all single because the maths is this is only single. And if it's not single, they're dropping a lineman out, and I've got all the time in the world to stand and survey. So that just makes everything pre-snap that bit easier. And this is Tom Brady, so you give him extra time pre-snap, he's going to kill you. That's more about revealing the coverage. You could still, in that scenario, and it would be smart to probably, if you're going to reveal the coverage anyway, though maybe they would roll out, but you then run the gunner coverage, stand over him whilst he's flexed out, and just eliminate him and say, we take our chance on the other side. It's really tough. This happened with, teams did this to Julio Jones. I think that was where I first noticed the team do it. And then they did it to Gronk once. I'm trying to remember the game. And it became like a national story then, because we hadn't seen someone really do it. Wade Phillips is a balls to the wall type of guy. I would like to see him try and do that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say channel your inner Wade.
Yeah. I wish.
What do you try first up against Gronk?
That's what I go with that, and I give it a go. Okay. It's not worth he can kill you anyway. He's going to dominate anyway. So I think you should try. And last week, in fairness to them, they were a completely different team last week than they were all season. They played far more zone stuff against Pittsburgh. They tried to take away the big play stuff. Patriots live underneath. so they're probably going to have to press the line more, and that plays into Gronkowski's hands. This is why it becomes a mismatch threat. Look, we tried to come up with 3 or 4 ways already, and it ultimately ends up with one guy on Gronkowski, and he's just bigger, taller, faster, quicker than anyone who you can match up with him. But they do have, in fairness, Ward, the safety, is about as close as you could get where you could maybe say he has a chance. He doesn't have the length because no one has the length. It's like Greg Olsen last week. Newton makes that throw. You just can't defend that. You just have to take your hat off and say it's a great throw and catch. But if anyone could at least stay with him physically and in space, I think Ward would be Ward is a good enough player in the league to do it. But if the ball is, up there high and wide and Brady just makes a great throw, you can't stop it. But I certainly wouldn't single him. I don't know why you do that, unless you start getting just destroyed on the outside by Edelman and Amendola. Yeah, so I'm gonna go Gronk to answer the question. We'll go with 1. Gronk feasts 1, but he goes for over 125.
Okay, I say 1. I don't want to. It's such a 1. He gets 100 up on the board. That's what I'll go with.
Just 100.
Right. No more questions in as of yet, but do fire away.
I want to ask. I want to talk about this in terms of female journalists because it's something that interests me. I am really keen to try and find female voices and female writers who I don't really know how to phrase this, so I'm just going to try and say it and not get myself into one of those like scandals where you just say something on YouTube that you end your career.
Yeah.
It's really tough to look around media and find a female writer or reporter who doesn't fall into the box of either they're doing sideline or they come out to discuss female issues. And I'm not saying it's anything about the person themselves. Like you have Katie Nolan and Michelle Beadle, who are kind of satirists and they're commentators on the game and they give their opinions in that comedic form. It's tough to find someone who consistently, Jamel Hill probably is the closest thing, but people who are asked their opinion just in a normal form without it being something about a female issue. When there's domestic violence, they'll invite a female guest onto the panel to discuss it, that kind of stuff, participation, those kind of things. I just desperately want to have a show where it's just 2 women or a woman and a guy, and they can just sit and talk about football, not how they would normally talk about it, and people just listen to it normally without them having to move towards topics that affect females in football. Why does that?
No,
how can that not exist? How can that not be out there now? Maybe it is. Maybe it's just not in my. Maybe I just don't see it. But I tried to find one. I looked to try and find something to try and mimic. And obviously, you have great writers, and you've got columnists who are just females and write about it. But it seems like, for the most part, networks are only comfortable. Not comfortable is the wrong word, but they feel like, oh, this is a topic that affects women, so we should bring on a female panelist and guest, and that's when they become highlighted. Outside of His and Hers and Jamel Hill on ESPN. Otherwise, it's sideline reporter or satirist, like comedic, or coming on, or like First Take, you have, what was her name, Kerry Champion. She just sits between Skip Bayless and she's not allowed to offer her opinion. And then every now and then she'll be allowed to discuss something. If, like when the Ray Rice situation happened, they would ask her opinion. She had to sit there for 2 years doing nothing. So she bailed. Like,
it's mad. It's mad. It's definitely, it's through most sports as well. That's the problem. I think it's slowly changing, like kind of, but I don't know. It's definitely a grey area, and it's just lots of questions. I don't really know. I can't say I know enough of broadcasting and media out there to know. Definitely, there's no one like that, but
I'm sure there is. They just don't have to
really come up with. Yeah, straight away, I can't come up with a list of 5 or 6 people, and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, and it's
we have
not
another question.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry.
Ask the question.
It's from Jen. It says, I asked this question to every analyst. Where do you value Des Bryant this season? And that's what I assume Desi is.
Where do I value him in terms of? Give me.
I would just say
top receiver. Where does he rank in terms of receivers, value in terms of cap, the money?
All of it.
I wouldn't pay any wide receiver the money they pay him. I wouldn't pay any wide receiver more than 12. What's he making? 20 million a year? Close to that? It's a cap hit.
I don't know.
Look that up. Either way, I just feel like in this day and age now, I love Antonio Brown and I love Julio Jones, and the tough moral thing with that is you can't let that guy leave the building. Like you can't just let Julio Jones walk out the building. You get nothing back for it. You can't let Des Bryant, when they're trying to figure out the contract situation with him last year, you can't let the guy walk out the building for nothing, and then you lose one of the 10 best receivers in the league for nothing. But I just feel like we know enough now where that's kind of not the important thing. You save a percentage of the salary cap for the quarterback, and you find guys who rush the quarterback, and you find cornerbacks, and you figure the rest out, and you find a left tackle. And I feel like that's, if you look at these teams who build teams, how many of them are really spending great money on wide receivers? The Seahawks certainly didn't. The Patriots didn't. The Packers, until they paid Jordy Nelson, weren't paying. They didn't have him this year. Larry Fitzgerald took a pay cut to stay in Arizona. Who is Carolina paying to play receiver this weekend? Ted Ginn to make up like $1 million a year. I just feel like it's a waste of resources. I think if you think about Moneyball, which is the greatest sports book ever written, in my opinion, because it makes you think outside the book. It wasn't a quote in the book, I don't believe, but it was a quote in the film of recreating in the aggregate. And it's just a smart way. I could find 3 guys to get Des Bryant's production if I had Tony Romo. Now, it's different if I have Brian Hoyer. I'd need DeAndre Hopkins, probably. But if you have at that value for Des Bryant, I could find 2 receivers for half the money to get that production, and then I could go and find a pass rusher or a linebacker and pay them above league average to get the best one I want, I think, as a team builder. But as just a player, obviously, he's an elite talent. And these guys, until you get a situation like where Cleveland management's there now with Paul DePodesta, someone who wants to break that mold and realizes I'm going to pay open market value crazy money for a quarterback, and then the rest of the guys I'm going to skimp on the money, then it won't change. But as a player, Des, if you had a 3rd and 5, you throw the ball outside, how far do you get down before Des is the guy?
What?
If we're 3rd and 5, league average quarterback, Hoyer, and you've got to throw the ball to a receiver, go through how long before you get to Des?
I'd have Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Julio.
Mm-hmm. DeAndre
Hopkins, Nick. It would probably be between, I would probably say he's before Calvin. Definitely, actually.
At this stage, yeah.
And I'd put Des in there.
Calvin doesn't know if he wants to play on it.
No, he's probably no. He just doesn't like football.
Would you take Julian Edelman or Des Bryant?
No, I would take Julian Edelman. I love that guy.
Me too.
You know I love him. And I'm not meant to love him. I'm meant to hate him.
I think I probably take Des.
Fantastic player. And he's one of them where you just sit down as a neutral and you just watch him, the way Brady moves him around. He finds his coverage and he just sits in soft spots in his zone. Great hands. He was rusty last week. Everyone who jumps on him, we dropped it. He 3 drops. I'll get over it. Like there's about 7 clutch catches afterwards, and it's just like he's a great player. Very, I wouldn't say underappreciated, but
not anymore.
People respect him, but I don't think people who watch enough really respect truly how good he is.
Yeah, I don't think people realize. I remember, not Collinsworth. Someone wrote last season that he was the most uncoverable guy in the NFL. It might have been Greg Cosell. And I remember saying that to Tom when we did the Warren Conley football show. And it's just like, but there is no way to stop that guy if he wants to get open. Remember, he against Seattle in the Super Bowl, he ran the exact same route twice, in and out. And you just can't stop the guy, and you know it's coming. That's what I love about him, the short area quickness. Des can't do that kind of stuff. But then Edelman can't, run a 20-yard out and high point the ball. It's just, that's what it is.
Test win. I've got Dez's cap here.
Okay.
Only $7 million this year against cap.
Yeah,
but it rises to 13 mil, then 17, then 16, then 16 and a half.
I would never pay over 10 million of my cap for a wide receiver.
No, I agree. And now with it's going to be the average, nearly 20 million for a quarterback is basically your average is coming to. And if you're paying a receiver 17 million pounds as well,
then you're playing your star defensive player.
Yeah,
15.
And then you've got cornerbacks.
You can find those guys.
It's just it's mad. It's mad.
Deshaun Shedd and Jeremy Lane played critical parts for the Seahawks this year. You can find those guys.
True.
Malcolm Butler was in Popeyes last year. He was literally working at Popeyes 18 months ago. Now he's playing star coverage for the Patriots. He's tracking number one guys all over the field. You can find those guys.
That's mad.
You have to find a quarterback, an edge rusher, a left tackle. We can figure the rest out. I think that's more accurate than it's ever been this day and age.
Yeah, I agree.
Except for the Packers.
It's just the evolution.
The Packers have all
That's
those
another
things.
great thing about
My logic falls.
Ah, right. Where are we at now?
We got anything else? How long have we done?
We're questionless on this side.
We done anything else? We got no, how long?
Oh no,
we
we've got another thing. We got one more thing.
Okay.
What's going on? You good?
I'm good, yeah.
Okay. It's Jen. It says, I 100% subscribe to the zero running back theory when drafting. I rarely take a running back before the 5th round. 4th if it is something I can't pass on. Considering the way this season played out, do you think drafting wide receiver will be more popular than ever in 2016?
First of all, it's not really a case of popular trends. I think people buy into that too much when they see like, oh, suddenly more wide receivers were taken in the 2nd or 3rd round. It's what is the college game giving you? We have more receivers being drafted because we have more guys eligible on more plays in the college game. Everyone is spread now. There's probably 10 teams not spread in college football now, which means we've got 4 or 5 eligible players on every single play, more guys to catch passes, more balls being thrown, more guys showing off talent, more opportunities, more drafted guys because they look better. So I think you'll continue to see wide receivers going up because the NFL only gets what college provides it, and the college is providing a bunch of wide receivers who catch a bunch of passes. And this is another really talented crop. The running back thing, I don't know if I totally subscribe to not taking one. It's just got to take the right one. It's the same with every position. We could go position by position. I think we find a trend of where to take him, and you just don't figure it out. Todd Gurley goes in the 1st round. So does Melvin Gordon. Thomas Rawls goes undrafted, but so did 50 other guys we never hear of again. So it's like the Cowboys tried it. They said, we got a great offensive line. We buy into the don't take a running back early theory. Don't take a running back. They go and get an undrafted guy. They take guys off waivers. They bring in Darren McFadden. They promote their own guys from within. And it wasn't good enough. McFadden wasn't terrible. They lost Romo, but it still wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's just that with the running back thing, yes, it's devalued, you can say. Lots of people like to put that phrase out there. But if you do get a special player, there's nothing stopping you. Like Zeke Elliott this year, where do you think he's going to end up roughly? Do you reckon he'll squeeze into the 1st round?
I don't think so. I can't.
No,
I don't have a single 1st round grade in a running back this year, and I can't think of one where I would want to take that chance. Given it's also the difference between the top end of the individual class and the bottom end itself. Now, there's always going to be slips through the cracks. I never even saw Thomas Rawls last year, and he becomes the 2nd best runner of that class. Whereas, Gurley any year is a 1st round talent. So is Peterson. It's just like these guys will come out and guys will slip through. I wouldn't think. I don't know why anyone would take Ezekiel Elliott in the 1st round. Maybe they do. Maybe someone like Dallas, maybe if they move back, might be interested. But I can't think of a team around the league now who's crying out for running back help to the point where they'd feel the need to go in the 1st round. Can you? Who's desperate? There's a bunch of teams. I'm not saying there's not teams that need them.
Yeah, but desperate.
Yeah. I mean, you looked at St. Louis last year, they had nobody at quarterback or running back. They needed an offense. And Todd Gurley was there.
Yep.
Right? San Diego.
Yeah, I'm trying to think
Gordon.
right now. No.
They're teams. No one where it's top of the list outside of Dallas, and they're drafting too high to take one unless they move down.
Yeah. Talking on one of my final questions I'll ask you. Yeah. It's all speculation, but if you look for a team who want to gather as many resources as possible and a team who has the resources to go up and get a guy they want, if you could name one team who you think has the most chance of trading down and one team who you think has the most chance of trading up this year?
Trading down, trading up. I think the team who wants to trade down the most is Tennessee. I think they're desperate to trade down. I think they have no chance of trading down unless the team who will try and trade up, I believe, most, if we're talking a big leap, is, I was going to call them St. Louis, but it's now LA. The Rams, I think, not just because of the move, I think that's a lazy storyline thing to do, but if you think about it logically, I made this case for them last year. It makes sense. Like, they banked their draft picks from the RG3 trade. They hit most of them. Most of them were home runs. So now you've drafted your bank currency for, let's say, this year and next year. Now it's going to be expensive to move up, and you're going to have to get past Cleveland to get your guy. You're going to have to get to, if you like Goff and they like Goff, you're going to have to get to one to go get him. So that's the natural trade I can see that would fit. I think both teams would want to do it, whether they have the balls to pull it off and whether it's moving back too far for Tennessee. I don't know. It's a lot to give up unless it's an insane 2-1s, 2-2s, something like that. But if I was LA, I would look at that. Nothing to do with season ticket sales or any of that nonsense that people will throw out before the draft. Prepare for that storyline. They're going to sell season tickets anyway. It's a new team. They've probably sold them for 5 years already. But that team needs a quarterback. I don't like Mannion, who they took last year. And if they could go and get Goff or Wentz, or that's the guy, then maybe they make a move up. But I don't see the value in moving up anymore. All the value is in moving down.
Yep, I completely agree. I mean, you got Baltimore at 6, obviously. They want to get, unless there's a defensive back there, or anyone who really screams who's fell down, a bit like Leonard Williams, who went at 6.
Yeah, if Jalen Ramsey doesn't go at 5 to the Jags, which he probably will, then Jalen Ramsey should go to the Ravens. Otherwise, that's a wait and see the board.
Yeah. Ravens will jump already, but if not, they'll look to get out. Mm-hmm. I would say it's just interesting. I'm really excited for this year's draft, but I think who isn't? That's the thing.
The TV networks. That's who's not excited. Not a great class for the TV networks. Not a star. No star names. Quarterbacks are all guys who have second round, first round talent, though Cleveland's going to take 1 up 2. Just not a lot of star names and a lot of line of scrimmage players, which is not a great bunch of skill position guys, which is not what the TV network's like because people don't tune in.
But it's what we want.
It's what I want.
I'm excited.
I want the big uglies. I want Tennessee to take Emmanuel Ogbah first overall and surprise everyone. I think there's a chance. It'll be a plot twist.
Yeah.
I also, in terms of the trade up, trade down, I wrote this piece, which people will be able to read on Tuesday. They can't read yet, about Jalen Smith. To me, he's the best player in the class, but he tears the ACL, he tears the LCL. So you've got a situation where there's going to be a lot of teams who just immediately are out. If you have a first-time GM, it's going to be tough to make that decision. It's tough to do. If your guy's on a hot seat or feels like it could be his last year in his position, he ain't going to take him. He needs a year 1 contributor. And Smith, at best, will be back by like week 9, week 10. Might miss the entire season. Yeah, he might be the best player overall in the class. I think he is when healthy, but we don't get to see the reports on the knee, so it clouds it a bit. So you have that guy who's going to tumble down, probably at the top 10, almost certainly, unless there's great news on his knee between now and the draft. So goes at the top 10. You're going to have teams there who would never have a shot at that guy normally. Based on their board, teams have him as the best overall player in the draft. Based on their board and where he's falling to, they wouldn't usually get a shot at him. So someone might say, let's just go get the guy. And if they're at 16, jump in to go get him. Or a team might trade down knowing they can grab him. Like when the Bills knew they were taking EJ Manuel, but didn't want to take him in the top 10. So they just tried to keep moving and moving until they couldn't move anymore and took him at 16. Have a situation like that.
I agree. And if you look at that mid-round of the first year, if anyone's going to go on in, you'd think it would be a stable franchise. The problem is if you look at that mid-round, you've got, I'm just going to get a list up, who's picking where. So you're going to have LA, Detroit, and Atlanta in like 15, 16, 17, in that range. The Falcons, what are they doing with Dimitrov? What do you think?
Again, so he's got 1 year left probably to prove. Although it seems like Dan Quinn made the decision, which is interesting, and it seems like Dan Quinn really likes him, and they have a similar vision. So maybe that. And they desperately need an edge rusher, and Smith does everything. This class is so low with edge players, you'd be silly to move around to go and get one. Just wait and take your guy. They already, I thought, took Beasley too high last year. So, who else? Where's New Orleans picking?
They are picking at 12.
They had 2 firsts last year, so they bought themselves a first back already. So you could make a move. At 12, he would be there, probably. You can move down and take him. New Orleans might be a good show.
And boy, do they need some help.
Boy, do they need help. Right, we got any more questions, or we going?
I think I'll have a quick look. I think we're good. All questioned out.
All right, we're questioned out. We're going to end this one here. We'll find a time to do this on the regular. Make it Wednesdays or Fridays, or we'll find a time to do it. But that's it for this one. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time, I guess.
See you later. You got it.